Welcome back. In this video, we're going to take a quick look at the data tables widget. Now, very basic example of it sitting here. Okay. So without further ado, let's jump into it. Jump back to our dashboard. Jump into our pages and we'll add it to our home page. So we'll edit with Elementor on the home page. So we'll just scroll down to the bottom. We'll add a new section. Just pop a heading in there. Okay, and then we will jump back into our widgets. And if we scroll down to data table, so we'll drag that over, pop that in underneath our heading, and you can see that our tables appeared. Now, to edit the table is a bit clunky. I mean, ordinarily you wouldn't really use the data table any more than you had to. It would only be for a simple, short amount of information. So we'll just take a look at the basics in this video. We've got the header section, which is represented by this purple bar here. And that'll be where the headings go for the table. So much like a lot of the other functionality of Elementor, we can add and remove them. And when we click on them, we can actually edit things like the name of the column. We can actually adjust the column span, which if you're familiar with regular tables in HTML, you'll understand what that is. But it basically means how many columns a table will stretch over. Columns being the horizontal. So if, for example, we spanned it over 4 columns, you'll notice that all the content underneath, because there was only 4 columns in that row, all now falls underneath that one header. So then if you wanted to, you can delete the other 2 and just have one header for the 4 tables. Okay, but we're not going to do that for now. We'll just pop in some names for them. And then the next section under that is the content. As you can see, we've got 4 contents already. But you'll notice over here we've actually got 5 boxes. And the reason for that is the first box is actually the row itself. Okay, so it's the whole row. If we click in there, you'll see that it's only got the option of being a row type, either row or a column. Now, columns can only exist in rows. So if we take that out, none of our columns show up. So you need a row to display columns. And what we've got there is 1 row and then 4 more columns underneath that. So if we wanted to add another row, we'd have to click on Add Item. Then we have to select row type as row. Then we can add another item after that and select column and start populating that next row. And as you can see from that list, it starts to get pretty unwieldy fairly quickly. So I'd only recommend using a data table to display a small amount of tablature information. Okay. Now, Obviously, with rows, there's not a lot you can do in the way of editing the content. But in columns, we can play around with spans again, and you can add content into what they call the cell. So you can type straight in like so as a text area, or we've also got the option to use an editor and put it in as a text edited sequence. There's also templates, but we won't play around with them too much at the moment. And then, of course, once you've set up that table, if you wanted to, you could also export it as a CSV file, which is quite a common format for tablature data. Okay. Now we've also got our styles. So we've got our general styles, which is basically just the width and the alignment that we can play with. All the various options that we have there. We've got the header style, so we could play around with the background color on the header and other things. Give it a border if we wish to. Probably change the typography. We can put icons in there if we really wanted to. Change the alignment of the text. So all the standard sort of text features. As far as content goes, we can actually color, as you might have noticed here, every second row a slightly different color to make it a bit more legible. We can also play around with borders, link colors if there's any links in there, alignment, typography, all the standard sort of stuff. And enable responsive table. So if enabled, the responsive option, the table header will automatically be responsive for mobile. So it'll just play a bit more friendly with mobile. And you get the various options there. Depending on your application and circumstance, you can use that. But like I said, and you'll probably notice, generally speaking, not a lot of websites use data tables in this way anymore. But for a small amount of information, or a comparison list or something along those lines, it'd be fine to work with.